If you have to start doubting every small step taken in the process of appointment of such important position, look at the implications for the integrity and the independence of the institution in outside. Now, what are we talking about? Therefore, a little dent, a small dent somewhere will make a lot of difference.
That's right. Please to pick up persons who would have a 6-year term, either as election commissioner or as chief election commissioner. We'll accept all what you say, but even then, the names you have picked up are such that they would not even have the ordinary term as election commissioner.
How do I really draw?
So why? So the point is that you have to also violate the law. If your theory is accepted, that you are hell bent on saying that nobody will ever have a term of 6 years as election commissioner or as chief.
No, I don't think that intention could be imputed. I don't think, with great amount of respect. With a great amount of amendment, or the Prime Minister's office has nothing to do with somebody relieving somebody from his cadre. They have nothing to do with that. Therefore, election logic is have a panel of 100 names, right? Pick up among them. Even then, somebody will say, please don't get it.
We are not saying that. Or deliberately not trying to understand what we're saying.
Okay, what will I ask you one question?
Yeah, Lordship.
We'll give as a last chance. We'll ask. I'll
Yes.
stop asking. Was there any criteria for the law minister to pick out these 4 names?
Let us not get into that question today for the time being.
Why?
We are not in that question. If that question is to be answered, we are in a larger debate again. We can open up the debate. No problem at all. We are not on that question at all. If you start doubting, I am with a great amount of reservations. If you have to start doubting every small step taken in the process of appointment of such important position, look at the implications for the integrity and the independence of the institution in outside. Now, what are we talking about? Therefore, a little dent, a small dent somewhere will make a lot of difference.
That's right. Please, Attorney General, kindly come to the. You've got a page. I think it's A8, which you have marked for.
Page number?
A8. You have put it as A8.
A8.
Yes.
That is document A8.
Yes.
Yes.
We're not taking the name of the person.
Yes.
We don't want to. Because that's not relevant for us. Can you see the date of birth?
Yes.
What's the date of birth? 34/1960.
Yes.
34/1960.
Yes.
In 2022, what will be your age? 62 years.
She has retired on 30th of July 2020.
Our question is going to be something different. 34/1960, she's 62 years. Even for a term of election commissioner, she could not complete a term of 6 years.
That's right.
Give alone chief election commissioner, she could never become. Now we come to A9. We are not again taking the name.
Yes.
The date of birth is 5/5/1960.
Correct.
That person is also 62 years.
Yes.
Correct? Okay, that is also same. Next man, 8/10. We are not taking the name. Date of birth is 28/9/1960.
Yes.
Correct? So is it the law that you will appoint only retired bureaucrats? Is it that norm which you are following?
No. That is why.
So our question is something different. Our question is, you would expect that when you exercise your power, in order to accepting all that you say, that you would act in such a way that you will also comply with the statutory injunction. Which means that you are ordinarily supposed to pick up persons who would have a 6-year term, either as election commissioner or as chief election commissioner. We'll accept all what you say, but even then, the names you have picked up are such that they would not even have the ordinary term as election commissioner. Next question is the most important question according to us, which is this. By narrowing the scope of the panel to these 4 names, are you not shutting out those names who are sufficiently senior? Bureaucrats, we are going by your theory, the bureaucrats are the ones who are the best. So you have the 20-year rule in Pakistan for just having that as a yardstick. But we will have the same yardstick. Somebody becomes an IAS officer by the age of, say, 28 to 30, ordinarily. So by, say, if you have the yardstick of 20 years experience, by 50, 52, 53, be, fairly senior officer. Now, why do you select people? Why do you have a panel which will force you to appoint from that panel only those persons who will have, you will never have the term. We have conveyed what we are having.
No, I understand that.
See, if you put somebody at 62, if you have to select any of these persons, then you cannot appoint them. And then you say, because this particular person who is chosen is the youngest and he's have a long term. So what happens to all those others who would have been in the same category as the person?
There is none else.
Nobody.
That's a point I want to make. Batch wise, date of birth is one thing.
Yeah.
But a person earlier in age or later in age could have entered service at a different point of time. Therefore, the year, the batch wise cadre, all that is taken into consideration. So if somebody belongs to 83 batch, 84 batch, 85 batch, therefore you go batch wise.
That's right.
Somebody could have been senior in a later age. So all those dynamics comes in. Therefore, how do I draw a line between the pool of officers who should be picked up?
So
how do I really draw?
So the point is that you have to also violate the law. If your theory is accepted, that you are hell bent on seeing that nobody will ever have a term of 6 years as election commissioner or as chief.
No, I don't think that intention could be imputed. I don't think, with great amount of respect. With a great amount of respect.
What you're saying, and you know that. Still waiting to see. You're saying that the council of Balbir Singh was saying that if you put in place this, not that this is just we are all considering various possibilities.
Yes.
You should never get the impression that
yes.
made up our mind in any manner. When we ask questions, it should not give the
no. Certainly, I'm bound to answer all your
impression. Nobody.
It's
just a debate that we should be having.
It's a debate which I think all of us must play our due role. And I certainly understand what my role is.
We are clearing the air that there should be no impression in anybody's mind that we are against you or their favor or anything of the kind.
Certainly not. I will never get that impression.
So what we wanted to know was Balbir Singh was heard arguing that if the suggestion of the petitioners is accepted, you will have what's called a pure recommendatory body in the form of this collegium of the Prime Minister, the leader of the opposition, and the Chief Justice. Now we have the cabinet system, Article 73, 74, 77, rules of business. Therefore, once the collegium recommends, will it not get stuck in the proceedings of the Council of Ministers? Because it has to pass through the Council of Ministers' recommendation. Now there, we want to just clarify, because it was pointed out last time, that under the rules of business, you have framed actually the matter relating to appointment of the Chief Election Commissioner, the Election Commissioner, need only go to the Prime Minister under the rules of business. We want just confirmation about that. That's a procedure.
That's a procedure.
He doesn't have to go to the cabinet. We wanted to know that.
That's a procedure.
No, Balbir was saying it has to go to the cabinet.
He was. Because there are other appointments, like ACC appointment.
That's right.
ACC appointment go through a cabinet secretariat.
So
but the level of responsibility and accountability, there can't be a difference.
Absolutely.
That's right. And then there are different categories of appointments.
Let him continue.
That's right. One last clarification. You kindly, I want to lost attention to Section 6 of the Act.
Sorry?
Because there is a question about voluntary retirement and all that. I told you logically that the central government or the Prime Minister's office has nothing to do with somebody relieving somebody from his cadre. They have nothing to do with that.
Incorporated the details, and in third tab.
You said that there are no other officers who are, not going to retire and things like that. We'll just give you from Punjab itself. They're just taking a name. Or we'll not take the name, but we'll give the date of birth. The date of birth is shown as 1/9/10/1973. She's a level 17 in the pay matrix, same as the other officer. She's a chief special. We'll take only the name. Special Chief Secretary to Government. We are not going to name the department. She is 1963 born. So your age that there are. You want to see this? We just.
I know.
That batch officer. Now, this gentleman is an 85 batch officer. If you go state-wise to the other states, you'll find there are 85 batch officers who have born after December 62.
Yes.
The first man in Tamil Nadu, for example, the first person in Maharashtra, for example, the first person in Madhya Pradesh, but they're not.
No,
We are not,
Yes.
So sorry.
we are not examining the issue as to who has chosen.
It's correct.
We are on the procedure.
Exactly.
So therefore, well, elected logic is have a panel of 100 names, right? Pick up among them. Even then somebody will say, please don't get
We are
it.
not saying that.
You will get it.
Or deliberately not trying to understand what we're saying.
What you're saying is.
Yes.
We checked it.
Yes.
We thought that, there's nobody, you said there is nobody, who is.
No. The question is, if you have to have an unwieldy pool, right? Then the question of first selection, second screening, third screening, how do we really go into the screening process? So every time somebody is screened out, my elections will come and say, look at what have you done? Are you therefore getting into a question?
What is the criteria which a law minister employed?
For
We'd like to know,
if
you
within the
4 names.
then it should be 4 instead of 4, 8, 10, 12, 20.
8, 10. See,
I'm
let us
little.
hope we are not
Yes.
sort of
I'm so sorry.
trivializing our
I'm sorry.
worry. Our worry is basically purely, legal. What you're saying is when an executive body is acting,
Yes.
power and constitution, or it's an executive power act. Basically, it's a power which is being given to appoint finally under the constitutional provision. So you have the Venkatramani principle, but we are not doing that judicial review as such, but we are on the whether we need to step in. Very, very important question, as you said, research with a lot of difficulty. So we were a little mystified. How would you pick up from a database, which you say there is, of officers, 4 names, and we pointed out 3 out of them could not possibly, fulfill the requirement at all. There are others, it is pointed out. And it's from the list which you asked us to see, we found there are others.
Let's clarify.
So then how do you answer that?
No, those persons who would not, look. We try to explain.
You want to say something? Sorry.
Okay, I want you all to look at also section 6. Before I come to section 6 of the Act. Now, batch is one important criteria.
Pardon?
The batch to which a person belongs to one criteria. 83 batch, 84 batch, 86 batch. That batch is the criteria. The date of birth will be a criteria only for to find out whether somebody would have a reasonable tenure before entering 65 years. The third is among batch seniority. So would be senior among them. So these are 3 or 4 factors which come in. Now, therefore, I ask myself a question. Having regard to the practice which has prevailed over a period of time, it is comfortable. If it's comfortable for a zone of consideration with small number of people and who are found to be otherwise, and after all, the government knows, depending upon the service profile of a person. Now, to go beyond the service profile and to now say you are having a very short panel, and the short panel has been decidedly designed to pick up somebody who will fill up your bill.
Yes.
To reach that conclusion, I think would be very, very difficult. The court will now put itself into the decision-making body or a thought of a person who is otherwise held to be accountable for the very important decision somebody is making.
We only ask you one question.
Yeah, Lordship.
We'll give as a last chance, we'll ask, I'll
Yes.
stop asking. Was there any criteria for the law minister to pick out these 4 names?
That's
Yes,
what I'm
there is
trying
one
to explain.
criteria.
That's what I'm trying to explain, Your Lordship.
One criteria.
You see, initially it is a question of batches. The batches coming. So among the batch people, will somebody have a longer tenure? That's another consideration. If that consideration is wrong, then I think no other consideration can help us. It is therefore a question of who will fill up as nearly as possible the requirements of the law.
So you went by batch.
Yes, batch is taken into consideration.
What batch? means?
Kindly turn to the same page.
84 batch you are saying.
Kindly turn to page 4.
So therefore you are saying that only persons who are on the verge of retirement should be appointed.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to point
No,
out.
yes, ultimately you are saying that. We have to put.
Batch is one criteria. Among batches, who is senior? Among them, who is probably other profile and suitability? Therefore, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these criteria, then somebody will score out 1, somebody may score out 2, then how do we have a selection process?
What you're saying is, therefore, that persons who are on the verge of retirement,
Yeah.
who will definitely not get the term of 6 years either as an election commissioner or as a chief
Correct.
election commissioner, are carefully picked and chosen.
No, therefore that's why I'm saying
Is there a rational criterion?
in a given situation,
You're violating the law. You're violating Section 6. We are telling you openly.
no, your lordships are right.
They are
Therefore,
expected to get 6 years.
no, but I only want to ask this question: how do we really come and honor this 6 years criteria? I said either a chief election commissioner will not be any longer promoted from election commissioner. We must do away with that convention or a practice. Then what happens? Somebody comes to the election commissioner, he will have 6 years tenure, walk out of the election commission after 6 years of tenure. Then we have to find out a chief election commissioner who will be appointed chief election commissioner. Therefore, we get into an imbroglio prior to TN session case. Why do we get into the imbroglio?
Mr. Attorney,
Yes.
we are completely with you. Whatever the mechanism which is available at your command, you adopted it. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong in it.
Yeah.
We are not supposed to question, and we are not questioning. Our and worry, anxiety is only one, which is not this. What is mode you adopted? If you see 85 batch or 83 batch, whatever the batch is, and you go to the database, you will find the age factor, the batch factor, the profile factor of the persons of a particular batch. You will find large number of officers. Our worry is not this to whom you select. It's your choice. It's completely within your domain. You have to do it.
Yes.
Completely. We are not on the question. If 85 batch or 83 batch is the denominator for the purpose of filtering the candidates for making a final call, fairly good.
Right.
But you said we want to keep in mind the tenure of the person to complete 6 years nearby, looking to the age factor and
Yes.
his entry level to election commission.
Yeah.
Because according to you, election commission, and that very person later on appointed to chief election. Very good.
Lordship, sir.
You want a person must have experience of election commission
Right.
before he is given a charge
Right.
of the post to help other home affairs. Nothing wrong.
Right.
Absolutely. We don't have anything to say. But if you are selecting a person of 85 batch
Yeah.
with an age factor of 62, 61, 63, whatever it is, your choice. But you will find if you go to the database, because you are downloaded from database, and this is a filter from database. If you go to the database, you will find the combination of date of birth, the combination of
Sure.
the batch,
Batch, seniority.
may be almost similar. And you will find, suppose, 20 people
Yeah, Lordship.
of the age factor and the batch factor from various state cadres.
Right.
Okay. Our request, what we are following to you,
Your Lordship, please.
we are on a different point. We want to know from you what is the mechanism which the Department of Law and Justice adopted to filter down and select 185 batch officer of this age. This is our question to you. I think we made ourselves clear to you. If you have 20 officers,
Yeah.
25 officers of 85 batch with almost the same age factor available on the database, so you can select. Absolutely, it's your domain. But we just want to know from you, what is the mechanism you adopted to filter down and select one officer of this age factor with this batch as the only officer under the
Very well.
filtering guide?
There are only two ways of looking to it. The one way is, I want somebody, therefore I'm picking him up. Regardless, ignoring all other factors.
We don't say
Ignoring all other factors, I want somebody, I'm picking him up. That's one way. Then the other way is, no, I have a certain comfort zone in not getting into an unwieldy panel. Then I may have to find out how to weigh the relative profile, suitability, experience of a large number of people. How do I really weigh them? It's a very difficult weighing experience. So the larger the field, then of course,
You have to do it on one day.
Yeah.
You have to do it on one day. On
Yeah.
1811,
Yeah.
everything is done.
No, these are all factors which
No,
in a given
the files.
Yeah. I only want to.
One day.
I only
1811.
Can I just have 2 more minutes?
Sorry?
Can I have a kindly turn to section 6 of the Act.
Certainly.
91
I just want to point out that there are some disquieting features which are thought to be present to them. And I want to dispel all that impression. And I thought there's nothing confidential about this document. We have shared it with
You have
them.
been very fair.
That's the best way of instilling. That's the best way of instilling and enhancing the quality of debate in the court and to ensure that the independence is also ensured in that. And therefore, that's
Section 9. Section 9.
section 6,
That's in the volume
page
1.
153 of the compilation,
Volume 1.
volume 1.
151, page 151.
Before I read that section, so any person, this gentleman is otherwise superannuating on 31st of December. And regardless of the age of superannuation, if the government found among other persons the profile, I think you would better serve and you can pick him up. So the government picks him up. So the question whether he will retire or not may not weigh with the government. And if, for the purpose of comfort and convenience, that I'm going to retire anyway in 31st of December, let me seek voluntary retirement. He seeks voluntary retirement from a cadre on which central government has no control whatsoever. And they respond to the voluntary retirement request and is given voluntary retirement. That will not make a difference whatsoever for the government to take into account whether his profile is important, not a voluntary retirement question. So kindly turn to section 6. A person who immediately before the date of assuming office as the Chief Election Commissioner or an Election Commissioner was in service of government, he shall be deemed to have retired from service on the date on which he enters upon office as the Chief Election Commissioner or an Election Commissioner.
That's for the purpose of pension.
That is true. That is true. Therefore,
what is the question? We are not concerned with the question of pension.
because that small grey area where it says, oh, he's taken voluntary retirement only for the purpose of a nudging from somebody, get him voluntary retirement, now make him election. All that is
Just read the most crucial provision.
Yeah.
When you're talking about this act is framed in accordance with 324(5).
Yes.
Conditions of service.
Election. Right.
The term of an election commissioner will certainly form part of the terms and conditions contemplated. So in that term is very important. And you say the Chief Election Commissioner or an election commissioner shall hold office for a term of 6 years from the date on which he assumes his office. Then you have this proviso which you incorporated in 93. After 91 Act came, you made it in 93 by an ordinance.
That's right.
And that came in by an act. Now, do we have a situation where the proviso will actually overwhelm the main provision every time? The proviso becomes the rule. See, when you're interpreting this as, you have to understand what Parliament
that the tail will not wag.
So we get here a situation where the rule says he shall have, not may something like that, he shall have, it's imperative. Both as election commissioner and as chief election commissioner, because the separate appointment orders will be there. When even if you promote somebody, you can produce that. We have any doubt.
Certainly, it's well received. I'm not pleased.
So he will have term of 6 years. Everybody knows that he will never have it.
No, this question certainly coming to a mind. We had discussions where the only possible answer is yes, it happens like that, but there is no design. There is no design.
It does not happen like that.
No,
what you're saying?
No, it's very difficult unless I have a 40, 50 years of profiles and show how it has happened, why it has not happened, how the choice has been made. That exercise maybe.
The point is Attorney General. What really binds us, guides us is the will of the people speaking through Parliament, the law. The law is a clear guidance. The law says, shall have 6 years, shall have 6 years. So ordinarily, your effort should be to see that law is actually observed, not in its breach. But
I can't be in disagreement with it. I'm not even saying anything.
That's all we are saying.
All that I'm trying to say is having looked into.
The time is up and let us go.
Having looked into that. Therefore, this disquiet that's being thought, I say yes, in my understanding, very humble understanding, the way the system is working, how the convention is working, and how there is nothing in which, I mean, I don't think there is a possibility, if the court were to go to the extent of saying there is always a quid pro quo in the appointment. I think that court is not.
We are not.
That's right.
Absolutely not.
Correct.
We don't know from where you gather it. We never thought it. And we never think it. Sorry. We are only on the question of the procedure. Absolutely. Don't take this impression.
We are also not saying it.
Yes.
No, but what's the suggestion?
No.
You're saying there's a process which is
We are
flawed.
not.
The process
We are
which
not
is
on
flawed.
at all.
Yes.
Sorry, we are not on this issue.
Yes.
Absolutely not.
You see, yesterday we requested for the file. Today you have produced it. So to that extent, we say good thing has been done. All right. Now you are trying to justify on the query of the court that the law minister has shortlisted 4 persons, 4 names from a large database. We try to understand what is the basis for shortlisting these 4 persons. We are still struggling with the logic and the reason, right? Talk about age, you are giving 65 years. But perhaps there will be many more officers who fit in the profile that you are trying to suggest to the board was the basis for the law ministry's shortlisting these 4 names out of the data of maybe 100 people, that age category. Now, age category is relevant because you have a particular tenure, you have a particular age related to the office, 65 years. So it's relevant. You may be right in saying that the age is the criteria on the basis of which we have shortlisted these 4. But if we find, and of course, we have also said that we are not testing the appointment of this particular person. We are basically in this process.
I quite see that. Very
Testing
important.
the process.
I
Testing the process.
correct.
So what is the process through which you make the appointment of election commissioner?
Yes.
If we are testing the process, and if you say that age is a factor, and it's a factor, it's a relevant factor, but if we find that besides these 4, there are 40 others who also fit into the same age bracket,
Correct.
then why 4? Why not the other 36? This is the question that we are
Certainly,
trying to
it's a well important question.
And one thing, we have talked about the silence of the Constitution, just to lighten the mood a bit, just to lighten the mood of the bit.
Your Lordship, please.
You have given 8 points in your note. Attorney General's note contains 8 points.
Yes.
If there was,
about something else.
yeah, the 9th note is missing, and that could have been the Attorney General saying that election process is all about numbers, and the man who has got a gold medal in mathematics, we have shortlisted him. That note is missing.
I didn't want to put myself in the place of those who have taken the decisions. Just one small concluding. This question will certainly keep coming. Why 4? Why not 5? Why not 10? Therefore, any number of persons who will be placed on the equal footing on an outsider's point of view. When I say outsider, from an external agency. The internal agency now knows how wide we can have a selection band. How wide it can be. The more it's wider, I repeat, as narrow or wide, the question of discretion will always be questioned. Every third seniority of appointment matter from the highest to the lowest level, including judges' appointment, before this court.
That's why we thought that why the rules have so far not been framed when the legislature and the constitution.
That's an important question.
If the rules would have been there,
No.
the mechanism process would have been very filtered.
Even then, your Lordship knows, after rules have been framed, don't we have seniority disputes in the country for the past 50 years?
That's a different thing. You're right.
Seniority.
So you want to
Seniority
say
in the
that why should
context
we-
of High Court employees.
You want to say that why should we have a rule that disputes
No,
will
I'm not
remain
saying
there?
that. I'm not saying that.
Avoid all rules and go ahead.
Seniority in the context
Ultimately,
of...
this court will take a call and decide.
No, please don't misunderstand me like that. I'm not saying that.
Rules are framed. We know it. Every time this court is intervening and the seniority rules are always breached. But still,
Let us look at, that's why yesterday I think I'm taking the Lordship's time because a very important sharing of thoughts and ideas, and it's going to certainly enhance the quality of decision-making process. I'm very clear about that. But certain institutions and certain processes probably are best left to certain informality, and when that informality brings about a confidence, then there is no difficulty at all. But whenever on a given occasion, that informality breaches that confidence level, the court will always look into that. But for that purpose, in a given case, a certain doubt has arisen in the mind of the court, then will the court go to the extent saying, I think we will have to now look at the informality. We don't know whether we can trust it, and therefore we'll try to tighten it up.
All right. Thank you.
So that would be a little closer to keeping that, play in the joint. But after all, we're not looking at appointments at a very ordinary level, at a level where other considerations may or may not come. But one last thing. This, Your Lordship put me a question, it happened in May. What happened in May? Many things are, this very highly confidential thing. Informally decisions take place. When do we do it? How do you do it? Therefore, nothing is kept on black and white. It's not like an ordinary note sheet in any other circumstance.
If the vacancy was available to you on 15th of May, then what was that emergency came across?
Let me tell you, Lord.
One fine morning you have rolled out the whole system.
Nothing to hide. Yes. There is nothing to hide at all. Nothing to hide at all. Even before on taking certain things on my shoulders, I must tell you, Lordship, what happened. Because these things come before the court.
Thank you.
Even before,
I'm sorry. Let us get on now. Let them come.
Even before the matter was heard, then I was asked whether any impediment in going about the appointment. Was there any problem? Then I thought about the matter. I didn't find there is any injunction or a stay or something like that. There is no reservation on that. And precisely they quoted that there is no reservation going about the appointment. That is how it went ahead. So it took probably about a week's time after I gave my consultation, and then he started removing it. So therefore, the speed part of it was also after my consultation with.
That's all.
Therefore, I don't think Your Lordship will see any rat in it. It's very important that certain things take place at a very highly consultative, confidential level and things.